Hey guys, BMac here. We are back for podcast 58 today. Have a guest with me today, Mr. John Skinner. He is a singer, a business owner, and just a friend of mine. So, John, thanks for coming on the BMac the Blindcaster podcast for the very first time today.
Brian, I'm so excited to talk to you. We've been talking about getting together. Finally got to do it.
Yes. So let's start with first. Where were you born, and where were you from, and what were your earliest childhood memories?
I'm from Tewksbury, Mass. I was born in 1965, so I'm 54. It's pretty weird. And I remember being my earliest child. I was into town sports, did baseball, and I took music lessons. Hung out. We had a great neighborhood. We played hide and seek in our big neighborhoods, like a big circle, and we were always just going out and trying to find each other. When it started to get dark out, all the parents are calling us and come back because we were all playing in the woods and stuff. It was very nice time, nice way to grow up.
Grow up. Yep. So tell me, what was your what was your what were your hobbies as a youngster?
It's funny. I was the second of my older sisters. She's 8 years older than me, so she was like into a whole other life. And I was I was almost like an only child. So if I wasn't out playing football or baseball with the friends, I was out hitting rocks with a bat or trying to like learn how to throw a curveball into throwing the ball into the fence. We just threw stuff around. We were kind of noisy. The other thing I used to do was at 9 years old, I was really into me and a friend. We started listening to the Beatles. I don't know what brought that on, but we started collecting Beatles records and listening to the songs and learning how to play the guitar and learning how to play the riffs on from the Beatles song. So we were really big Beatles nuts at 9, 10 years old. It was really strange.
Wow.
But that got me into music more.
It did.
So that was kind of a hobby.
So you're a Beatles guy. Who else did you like for music, for musicians?
Man, back then I was kind of the nerdy person because back like in getting into 11, 12 years old, at junior high, a lot of the kids were into like Kiss, like you are, like you like Gene Simmons and them. And I was into more of Steely Dan and like even the Bee Gees. Like you were afraid to admit that you liked Bee Gees and Elton John and some of those like lighter type music. Because like people would make fun of you because they were all into the hard rock and even getting into the early '80s. It was like Iron Maiden and Megadeth. Some of those the metal guys. They were getting into that. I'm like, man, what is it? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the music hobby was definitely a big thing. So yeah.
Tell me about how you became a business owner.
Wow. So going from the music world into the business thing, I was actually I went to college for music. My dad had passed away when I was 13. He was an engineer. He worked at CompuGraphic, which is in Wilmington. And I think AGFA bought them or whatever. I don't remember. But instead of going into engineering after he died, I was got more into the music thing and I was taking music lessons. I wanted to be a music teacher. So I went to college to be a music teacher. So I started doing that more. And then I get into one of those network marketing businesses. You may not have heard of Amway, but back in the South where we went to college, my wife and I met up here, but we moved down south. We got involved in like this thing where you get involved with other people and groups of people. You meet in homes or meet in like conference rooms, and you start to build this group of people, and you all buy the same kinds of products. And so that was kind of a business idea that we started doing. You don't have like a storefront. You don't do it out of your house. Well, you kind of do it out of your house. You don't like buy a business. But after being a music teacher, into like when I was like in my late 20s and around 30 years old, then I was at a small school and always trying to do stuff on the side to make money, whether it was teaching voice lessons on the side or teaching piano or trumpet lessons. This guy came along. His last name is McCarthy, so he's got the Irish thing going on, like you, right?
Yes.
And he said, you got the three boys. They're young, and they could help your work. Totally different type of world. But if you're looking to make some more money, you can take over my carpet cleaning business. So I kept his McCarthy name with the business. My last name is Skinner, but like people think I'm John McCarthy. They're, hey, honey, this is John McCarthy, and I don't change. I don't tell them any different, you know.
No.
But it's a great business. Now the boys are older and they're out of the house, and I'm trying to like build a team of people. So because I can't do this forever, you know, I still like getting out working hard, but I'm not as young as I used to be. So that's kind of how it got going.
Do you miss having the boys when they were little? Like, do you miss
Oh,
those
I
days?
do. Yeah.
You do?
Now my boys are like 28, 25, and 22.
Mm.
So they're like, they've had some girlfriends that looked serious, and now they're not together. And so for them to get married, start a family, and have some kids, like I would love it. Like I'm old enough to, like my friends are, some of them are younger than me. Like your dad's a little younger than me.
Yeah.
Like some of these friends of mine, their kids are having kids, and I'm like, wow, that looks fun to have a grandkid. That'd be fun. You know what I mean?
Fun.
So being around the little ones.
So why did you want to teach music?
I liked teaching the choir thing. My thing was more of the choir thing, like getting kids together and sing, because I know I can sing okay, but I'm more of like a team player. Like some people are really good soloists.
Yeah.
And I can do solos, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
But most people are just okay. Most people aren't great, but when you get a bunch of good singers in a room together and they work hard, they can actually sound
Really good.
great together.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
it's
good.
like a wall of sound. And so I thought, man, how do you do that? How do you get people to get them together to do stuff like a really good unit, almost like a good team, like the Patriots? I love their first Super Bowl that they won.
Yep.
The big thing about them was they didn't come out one by one out of the chute. What they did was they ran out as a big group of guys together, because nobody ever heard of any of them. I mean, well, maybe a few of them, like you had some, different guys, different good characters, but Tom Brady was like, he wasn't even anybody back then. And so he was like, well, I'm just one of you guys. You guys are better than me. And I'm just going to run out as a group. We're all one guy. We're all one team. And so that was kind of like, that's how I see my group. And I'm like, wow, we like, when I record it, I play it back for them. And I'm like, look, listen to you guys. You had some really nice moments, like sometimes it doesn't sound as great, but sometimes like, wow, right there, that part of the song was great. Let's keep doing that. Let's get better at all the parts. And that's why I really like doing the choir songs.
Why do you think artists today that are older mess up the words to so? I don't understand why artists, because you're a music guy, why do artists mess up the words to songs that they wrote a lot live? It's weird.
Oh, you mean they mess? I want, you know what? As you get older, I think you forget stuff. I really do. Like I'm getting to where I have to write stuff down more, and it could just be that you hit a point. And I'm not even talking about going into where people have that disease, Alzheimer's, where they actually, it's really sad.
Forget?
You can't even remember anything. But I think you start getting to where you go, wow, I used to be able to pull that back in my mind. Like who are you talking about in particular? Like, do you remember, like, I can think of one guy.
Well, I'll tell you example. I'll take example.
Yeah.
I mean, Gene Simmons, my guy who I told you about, he has said he forgets the words to so many songs he's written.
That's really funny. Like Billy Joel did one recently where he was like, they put it out there on like Facebook or something, where it was on a YouTube where they're like, what is going on with Billy Joel? What is wrong with him? It's like, I think they said he was drinking a little too much, but I think it's more than that. I mean, Gene, I don't even know if Gene drinks. Does he drink?
No drinking, no drugs, none of that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's, I think you just have so much in your head that you can't bring it back. Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, I've often wondered like why they do it, why they forget. It's funny to watch them forget though. Like I mean, for me to hear them forget is kind of funny. But
yeah,
would you agree with that?
Yeah. Oh, it's really weird.
Weird.
Like when I saw you on your video that you did with Gene Simmons, he was freaked out. Now, when you look over and you see him, like when you counted it out, one,
the band,
2,
yes,
1, 2, 3, go,
yeah.
and then the band starts in the lead. I mean, the rhythm guitar starts in with the chords, and then Gene's standing back there with the bass, and then you started in with singing that first.
Oh, so bad.
Yeah.
Right?
And you were right on.
Yeah.
And then Gene looked back at the drummer and he's like, can you believe, like he was pretty excited about just watching you. So you just pulled it right up. And I think maybe you just have a really good recall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I wanted to know, well, let's talk about how me and you became friends, because this is going a couple of years back.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first met you, I knew you, but we didn't really talk that much. So
No.
how do you mean you become friends? Just tell me.
Well, we did at the State House. Jim Lyons, who you've had on as a guest,
Yes.
he was trying to get the ability to in the State House to pull some Christmas songs and some Bible readings about the birth of Jesus in the State House, which some people don't like the idea of religion in the government thing, but it's really not that. It's kind of like we can still have our religious beliefs, and the fact that Christmas is about actually the Christian religion, which is that Jesus was born. He was a real guy in history, and he came and he was born and he grew up and he died to be our savior. Like there's, what's wrong with that?
Right.
So he was like, let's sing some songs that actually talk about "Hark the Herald Angels Sing," that the angels came to the shepherds in the Bible story. And he's like, we should be able to sing these things. So we had, there was a few groups that came, choirs, and I knew somebody who knew Jim Lyons they're from Lowell, Mass. Yeah. We live up in Hudson, New Hampshire now. And a couple of her kids were in my singing group, my choir. So I was like, oh, wow. So I never met Jim. So Jim and a couple other guys that put Bill Gilmeister and Andrew Beckwith and some of the guys with Mass Family Institute. Yeah. They put these events together. They're helping. And so I met them. I met Jim. And then Jim at the second time that we did the singing, he says, yeah, I got a friend, Brian McCauley, and he's going to sing some songs. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, great. I don't know who this guy is. And he goes, well, he's blind and he's going to come up and he sings all these songs. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, wow, this should be great. I didn't know how old you were. I didn't know anything about you, but you walked up and you just started singing stuff. Yeah. And it was really great. And this last time, my son David was helping he had a set of songs that he and his brother did, and he was playing the keyboard. Yeah. And it was funny because he's like,
does he read music?
Yeah. Well, he reads music and he plays by ear, which was helpful because what you did was you said, okay, I got these songs. I'm going to sing these songs. And I want to do this song in that key and that song in that key. And I said, David, can you just kind of go with it? And there were a couple of times where you said, you can hear the pitch.
Oh yeah, easy.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And some people don't have that sense of, and you said, I want to sing this song in A flat, and David felt better with G. Yeah. Do you remember how funny this was?
Yeah.
So he said something that was kind of silly. He said, okay, this piano doesn't play in A flat. It only plays in G. Yeah. And so you actually started in G. Yeah. And then you go, wait, that's not A flat, that's G. Yeah. Because you could hear it. Yeah. And most people can't do that. Yeah. And he goes, well, that's when he said this one only does G, not A flat, because it was easier for him to play. So, so you let it go.
Yeah, I did.
That was funny.
Yes, I did. Yes. So I heard you have questions for me also.
Yeah.
What would you want to ask?
Yeah. You were asking me right away when we were singing. You said, did you see my video with Gene Simmons? Yeah. And I hadn't seen that. And then it took me a couple of weeks before I watched it. And then I clicked, I thought, oh, I forgot to watch that video. And I watched it. I'm like, I was totally blown away. And Gene Simmons was, then I saw the video of you guys backstage.
After and before.
Yeah. Yep. And he was very complimentary of you. And so anyway, I was just wondering, when did you told me you're 24 now. Yeah. And so I met you when you were 22. Yeah. And so how did you get into, first of all, how did you get into music? Maybe I'll go one at a time. When did you start getting into, how old were you? Yeah. How old when you started getting into knowing all this?
When I was 5, the first song I ever listened to was the song Space Between by Dave Matthews. It was one of the biggest hit songs. I was obsessed with that song for years and years and years.
What's the name of it?
Space Between.
Space Between.
Yes, Dave Matthews Band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I found a song that I liked. It was by a band called Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
They did a song called Dead or Alive.
Yeah.
The first minute I heard that song, I gravitated towards that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, and then I started listening I was like, oh, I want to.
How would you describe Dead or Alive? It's kind of like that cowboy thing.
Yeah, it's kind of, yes. It's in the key of B minor.
Yep.
Or D major, actually.
It's kind of bluesy.
Yeah, it is. Well, when it kicks in, it gets a little loud, but
yeah.
And then I've been singing my whole life, kind of thing. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always been singing songs, but not to this loud level. I'd always sang, but I think the Bon Jovi song got me really into that whole rock and roll style. I think.
Yeah.
That's what I would say to that.
Right. Right.
And you know, I I truly and honestly believe that kind of set me on the path to rock music.
Yeah.
And just, you know, see, I look at life this way. You should look at life this way too. If you want something bad enough, you'll go and get it.
Right.
Um,
Well, and you could fail,
you could fail,
but
if you don't
what?
ask. You got to ask.
That's it.
That's all you got to do.
Right.
You have to go to ask.
Yeah.
And we get no. Not if you don't ask. You know, if you don't ask, you're gonna get no matter what.
That's right.
That's what I always
there
say.
you go.
You know,
That's really great.
And you really can't say. I always say to people, don't take no for an answer. I certainly don't take no for an answer. You shouldn't.
Yeah. You know what that sounds like to people? The people that are like, they have a nice personality. Like they're not that you're not nice, but
Yeah.
like people that they're afraid of hurting people's feelings, maybe.
Yeah.
And there's like they have a lot of empathy.
Yeah.
That's good, but you're not saying to be not nice. You're actually just saying, keep asking. Don't let that fear stop you again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I always say.
Yeah. That's great.
And have you said you were so when I take it you're a bass then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to do all the low notes. So that's where my when I sing in a group.
Yeah.
Like I'm in this guys group that started in college. A couple of guys are a little older than me, and we do these concerts. We go to like different places every year in February.
Yeah.
And so I do the low parts, but they don't give me solos too much. There's other guys that sing higher and they do more solos.
So does that make you frustrated? You can't do more solos?
Yeah, a little bit. Like there was this really. You ever heard I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger?
I think so.
Da, 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 da.
Probably.
And this guy was going to do it high.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that would be a great bass solo. Come to find out, when the recording was made, we'd already sung all the other parts. So I came back, heard the final recording, and they had that guy do it an octave lower, da 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 da, in that one that I could have done that one.
Could have done that.
You know what I mean? I'm like, why didn't you do it low in the first place? I could have done that. So I felt bad.
So did you get a chance to voice your frustration at that you couldn't do a solo?
Yeah, it's one of those things where the guy that runs it, we've done the same songs for years, and when we get back together, we don't have a lot of time to kind of redo stuff or to do new things. So it's kind of like we all know the concert from years gone by. So anyway.
And so you would ask me that.
How are we doing on time?
We're good.
All right.
We're fine. We're good.
Okay.
We have a 10 or 9. Yeah, we're good. So let me ask you this question. So, here's one thing I want to express to you, and you do it kind of all the time. What do you think of people that get very uptight about things? Because I personally, I'd rather be around someone that's, like calm, cool, collective.
Yeah.
Not someone that's gonna. I don't like people that are gonna be like, jealousy, like,
Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts on that? You lived a long time.
That's a really deep question. What makes you feel? What made that pop in your mind? Like what?
It was just a question I figured I'd ask. Just an interesting question.
Yeah, it's interesting. When there's different categories in your life, one of them, like I've been married for 32 years now. I got married when I was 22. And my wife is even keel. Yeah. And I am actually I grew up in a home where there was a lot of yelling.
You did?
Yeah. My mother, God rest her soul, she was just like when you met her, she was so funny and so sweet in many ways, but she would get upset in the home about different things. My dad was more calm, cool, collected, like you said. Yeah. And she would get angry with him if he didn't do it. Like I don't know what made her so agitated, but I have her personality.
You do?
My wife, yeah, I do. My wife has actually helped me to not get anxious. I think a lot of that a little bit out of control attitude is from fear and anxiety. You're afraid that something is going. You're afraid of losing control or something coming back negatively on you, and so you lash out. And there's just so many spokes to the wheel. There's so many pieces to the puzzle to answer this question. But I feel like people, as you become more settled in your mind on things, that you don't have to be afraid of stuff. Yeah. That makes people just, if somebody's getting uptight, you don't have to react to that. You can actually be, you can actually, instead of caring about your own fear, you can actually come up to them and go, "Hey, whoa,
What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on? Are
Yeah.
you all right? Like, can I be your friend now?"
Yeah.
And if somebody can actually feel like you're trying to be their friend, it settles them down. So you're probably really good at helping people not be all uptight, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's great.
See, I believe in leading. I'm kind of a leader here, kind of thing. I'm helping people out. I'm trying to get people to calm down, relax.
Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you?
I just tell them. I'm like, hey, relax. Like,
Yeah.
But me, I have a problem too with that. I'm getting like crazy. So it's like,
yeah. Well, when you tell them to relax, do they relax or just?
It varies.
Yeah,
quite a bit, but
so I'm learning in our. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Do you want to finish that thought or?
No.
Okay.
What we're gonna say.
You know what we're doing. This is going to get deep again, but we're going through a book. It's a book called How We Love.
Yeah.
So you didn't plan on us talking about this, I guess. I'm sorry. We're talking. We're going to talk about Gene Simmons and the Kiss.
No, yeah, it's all good. Well, actually, I want to ask about that for a second about Gene.
Yeah. Go back. We'll bounce off.
Yeah. Why do you think rock artists charge their fans to meet them backstage? Is it greed, or do you think it's just they're trying to sell the fans as much as they can?
I don't know. Honestly, well, it could be an opportunity to make money, I guess, but it could just be that they only have so much time.
Yeah,
and they can't.
Spare.
Yeah, it's like if it's like a ticket for admission into this. I mean, people don't just walk in off the street and go see the concert, so you have to pay to get into that.
Yeah.
Then there's that next level of a small group that can go in behind the curtain or into the room and say hi. It's almost like that is the next level of somebody respecting the privacy and respecting the time of someone.
Oh.
So I feel like there's, either way, you'd have to sign up. In a sense, it's a way of signing up for something that not everybody can do. There's just not enough time. So I feel like it's more of a pragmatic, practical thing than it is somebody just being greedy.
Yeah.
It seems to me. I don't know.
And let me ask you this question too. You mentioned how you like Kiss. Did you ever see the movie Kiss Phantom on the Park? Did you ever see that movie?
No.
That was about a mad scientist that was trying to get rid of Kiss, kind of thing. He created robots, Kiss, kind of thing.
Was Kiss actually in the movie?
Yes, they were. Yes.
Okay, so they were like played along with this guy's movie idea. Okay.
The guy that played him was Anthony Zerbe. He was the actor that did the role of the mad scientist.
Very interesting.
What do you think too of artists saying farewell? Because I honestly don't think that Kiss is going to end. I don't believe it at all. Do you think they're just doing it just to get a cash grab, or saying goodbye, or this is a two-year tour?
I think that they understand that they have I don't know the mind of a highly successful person, but I think that there's a couple things going on. On one hand, they get bored.
Yeah.
Like if you're not producing, if you're that successful of a person, you can only vacation so much. You have to be working on stuff, especially somebody like Gene Simmons. It's ironic how he sounds when he talks on an interview because he's a genius. You know what I mean? Like he's also very he's very articulate. Like you copy. Like
I did his voice for you.
You did his voice for me one time, and it was like, wow, that sounds exactly like him because he sounds very, he sounds like a professor.
Refined?
He does sound refined. He sounds like a professor. But when he's up there on stage, he screams, he does all this stuff. Until, he introduces at the mic, he sounds like one voice, then he's the rocker.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing about them getting bored and they need projects to do. But I think that there's the idea of that I think they know they have great appreciation for the fans. They know that they wouldn't even be in business. They wouldn't be where they are if it wasn't for people appreciating what they've done. Yeah. So I feel like they want to enter into that kind of a relationship, and they would admit probably that there's a fake relationship with it.
What do you mean by fake?
Fake in the sense that people idealize or idolize them as some non-human person.
Yeah. That
it's like, wow, I don't know, like they put them on this pedestal, and then when they have either personal problems or they get in trouble with the law, it's devastating for them. I think that's probably why they didn't take their makeup off for years, because now the mystique is gone. But in recent years with the internet, with like everybody's just, you can click on stuff and see what they're doing, And I think there's almost more because he had a reality show, right?
Yes, he did.
Back in, do you remember the year?
Yes, it was in there. It was 2004.
Right. And so how long did it go for?
It did like 2 or 3 seasons, I think.
Okay. Wow. Or in
Yeah.
the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So when he did stuff like that, now you're alongside. Now the fan base goes in and they go, wow, this is what he actually does. This is what he's like in person around the dinner table, around the house. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that the whole mystique of the entertainment world kind of changed. And now these people are getting older.
Yeah.
And maybe they feel like, last thing to say, I've been talking a lot. Last thing to say is that I think they feel like they really enjoy being with people. I really think that's part of it. I just went to go see, the rock group Chicago.
Yeah.
They're amazing. There's like 3 of the guys still left in the core band, and then they add on other people over the years, but they love it. They feel very appreciated. They feel they're still great musicians. They're 70 years old. I mean, like I never thought I would even, like 70 sounds like ancient back when I was a kid. Now people are living to like 90 years old and beyond. And when you're 70, there's people still out running marathons and stuff. I mean, people the world is different than when I was a kid.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on we mentioned how we sang Christmas songs and sales together, you and I. What are your thoughts on Bing Crosby doing Christmas songs? I think he's just a Christmas Bing Crosby. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, Bing Crosby, so good. The style of singing, was great. There was actually a special with him and Frank Sinatra and some of the other guys that were the crooners of the day.
Yeah.
And they dressed up almost like Charles Dickens looking stuff where they in the 1800s with like the Scrooge style stuff where they had the long top hats and the overcoats and the scarves on, and they were walking around in the homes with the brick homes and the tiny streets and people following them around almost like Christmas caroling. That's what they were essentially doing in this movie. I don't even remember the name of the movie, but it was like a video of Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra. I don't remember who else was in it.
Sammy
Davis Jr. maybe. Yeah.
Maybe,
Yep. Okay. And they were walking around and just singing "Hark the Herald Angels Sing." It was like the best thing. And so they were like big into Christmas. My little fun fact: my wife grew up in Dracut, Mass, next to their dry cleaning business.
Wow.
And she worked as a kid, growing up as a teenager and into college in that business. And her dad had all the old records of all the guys, Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra and all the other big guys, Mario Lanza and all those big Italian named guys,
Oh.
And they would play those records around Christmas time, and it was the snow's falling outside and the decorations in the store, and it was like it was a great time to harken back to like the 1940s and 50s, and even into the 60s where you'd have Elvis he'd have a Christmas record and all these kind of things. It kind of brought all different styles of people together singing Christmas songs. Nat King Cole, all that stuff. Great stuff.
I want to ask you too. Do you think the music business today is going down the hill? The music business, current industry, because I feel like it is. In my opinion.
Why do you say that?
Because these pop artists, who people like, and I understand, Olivia likes pop. I understand that, but I personally feel like a lot of the pop artists today don't have like a singer's voice.
Yeah.
A lot of them sound very auto-tuned. I don't understand it. I don't like it. I mean, what do you think of that?
It's interesting. You were talking. I think this is the product of people not saying no, almost like you.
Yeah.
Going and saying, hey, if I can market myself with auto-tune, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to put my voice out there. And there's things underneath what makes somebody a great entertainer.
Yes.
Like you can think, I mean, there's people with not great voices out there, but I mean, honestly, Bruce Springsteen never liked his voice.
Really?
I mean, because he kind of shouts and screams. I can only imagine what that's done to his voice over time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's part entertaining or if that's just kind of how he presents.
Right.
But his people love him because of his presentation, his entertainment value, and his ability to get a crowd.
Yeah.
You've got guys. So, and plus with the internet, everybody can present what they can package it,
what they have,
and then some of the old timers where they made money on their album sales. Now
Yeah.
that's just down the drain. So that's where I think the people can sell a song for $1 a piece, and if they can get that out there, that's their way of selling their stuff. I was going to say one more thing about the that idea of
pop,
well, then you got like some great then you got those like American Idol and The Voice,
like Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, like
oh
those types.
Ariana Grande, oh my gosh, yeah, and like what's her name,
Kelly Clarkson,
who sang she did that Don't You Worry About a Thing in that movie. She was the elephant. Tori Kelly. Incredible voice. And she never even won the Voice thing.
Right.
But she was top on the top of it. But you have those that kind of present a whole, like people that never would have gotten up there. Right. That's kind of a cool little talent agency, talent show thing that came. But then people try to copy other people. And I don't know, it is a different world. I'm not saying that it's necessarily worse or better, but it's totally different.
What do you so you mentioned Elvis and those guys.
Yeah.
Do you think back in the 50s they would have done like interaction with the fans, like meet and greets? They would have done those things back in the early 50s and 60s, those little fan things.
Very interesting. I think people would say that they probably did, though. They would, like some of the, you can get, there's YouTubes of videos taken of Elvis like at a small club. So he probably hung out with people all the time.
Yeah, I didn't know.
In fact, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I didn't know like if that was like if that was even like a thought back in those days that they were gonna hang out with the fans or not. Like,
I don't know that I think I'm learning just like you, even though I'm older, like I'm a generation older, but I'm still like what we saw on TV was an incomplete picture back in the day because we couldn't even do reruns of things. When people are playing me YouTubes of stuff that was happened in 1975, I was like, I saw that Johnny Carson episode when like, or whatever, like when Jerry Seinfeld went on Carson for the first time in like 1980 or whatever. Yeah. I was 15. I was in 10th grade. And I could tell my kids, I actually saw that when it came out because there were no reruns. There was like reruns came out, years later where you could see like a collection show where they put together these things, but there was no YouTube. You couldn't just see it the next day and play it again. So all that stuff was, there was like the guy behind the curtain. You couldn't tell what was really going on until really in the last few years where everybody's finally telling the story of what really was going on. Back then. And
what do you think of Elvis's guy, Tom Parker? Do you think he really tried to mooch off of him? Because people,
I don't even know that story.
No.
What was that? Tell me a little bit of the story.
There was evidence that was interviews. People have said that we tried to. He's the reason why Elvis died. Like they were saying things like he tried to make Elvis tour nonstop. Like he tried to like keep Elvis on the road for like years and years and years to tour. And people were mad at him, Colonel Tom Parker. I think it was his title.
Wow.
Do you think? I heard at one point that he attacked his entourage. At one point, would that surprise you or not?
Wouldn't surprise. None of that stuff would surprise me. I mean, now if we're talking about like hearing the rest of the story, and I've listened to many of these things. Yeah. A lot of the entertainers were they were just simple people that got recognized or got noticed. Yeah, they got brought into fame by producers that were either, in the mob or in the mafia. They were just not nice people, and they made a lot of the money, whereas the performers back
made nothing.
They made nothing, or maybe they made a lot, but it was nothing compared to what the people that put them up. And then they had them live abused lifestyles or kept them hooked on drugs. I mean, look at Judy Garland. That's going a ways back.
I know
she died when she was like in her 40s, maybe, or 50.
All because of that.
All because of like being hooked on pills and alcohol.
That's crazy.
And she had, and that's not rare. I mean, like even Elvis, what did he die? He died when he was 40 something.
40 something, yeah.
44 or something, 42.
Speaking of, I want to ask you real quick too about what are your thoughts on Freddie Mercury?
Oh gosh, wow. That's a tormented soul right there.
Was he?
Oh yeah. I mean, just his whole life. When you see the shows, the rest of the story type shows now, he just had. I honestly, I don't know if he was abused by producers or, abused in a general sense, not physically or sexually or anything.
Mental.
But perhaps he was. I mean, he was definitely went through heavy depression, and things like that. But I don't honestly know what caused him to have a
Get sick.
downfall. Yeah, to get sick. I'm sure his lifestyle back in the day. I don't know if it was actually through drugs or it was through the
I guess it
in
was
sexual involvement
Yep,
or whatever.
I
But
heard there was something to that.
he had AIDS or whatever, died. But anyway, he was definitely an innovator and amazingly talented.
Yeah. Do you miss him?
Well, in a sense, yeah. I mean, his voice was incredible. His talented. When you think about putting like a 7-minute song, like the
Bohemian Rhapsody.
yeah, Bohemian. It was like a 6-7 minute song, and people were like, "No, this will never work," but it
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
That came out in like 76, 77 when I was in like 6th, 7th grade.
Radio stations would even play that like this is too long. We can't play this song. Like,
yeah, but like they were totally wrong. Like, and people were fired up about it.
Do you think Freddie? I feel like maybe this. I don't know if you agree with this, but I feel like that Freddie had a lot of insecurity. He seemed like he was very shy. I feel like. Now, do you think he would have been someone that would have talked to the fans, Freddie, or do you think he wouldn't have done that back?
Oh, probably not. I mean, like some of those guys that are very reclusive and quiet.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's guys like that, or people that you hear, if that's the word that people identify, like, yeah, he's very withdrawn.
Quiet.
They're very big on stage. And then like another guy, you ever heard of Todd Rundgren?
I think wasn't he Def Leppard, something like
you know what? He could have been, but he was a solo act a lot. He had that song, Hello, It's Me.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, It's Me.
Yeah, I think I know that song.
Really, really great musician.
Yeah.
And, he would come out dressed with like a Birdman costume and feathers.
Spandex.
And weird. Yeah, just back in the day, like he was an incredible musician, but he was definitely odd if you see him interviewed on
TV shows.
Yeah, like some of the like 1980s and 90s shows. Some of these performers were like really, really quiet. And then
was he nice though? He seemed like he was nice.
Well, I think people described him as like kind of odd. Then there's people that you would be surprised, like people that are they're really smart and actually very thoughtful people, like Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane, Starship, whatever. Saw her interviewed, and she was known as just being kind of wild and the drug culture that always dropping acid and stuff in the 60s and 70s.
Yep.
But she was like really she's very smart and thoughtful, and like, wow, there's like. Anyway, that was not what we saw as kids. We would have never known that until they got older and into the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. They're, now they're 50, 60, 70 years old, and they're getting all interviewed, and they're telling what it was like when Woodstock happened, when they were like 18, 19, 20 back then. Wow. Now they're 65 years old, 70 or more.
I also wanted to know, too, you mentioned guys who are crazy. Do you think that I don't know if you're an Aussie guy, but
no.
Okay.
Believe it or not, you know why? Because when I was going to college for choir, actually when I was in high school doing a lot of choir singing, and as well as I got into college with the choir, just doing a lot of choir singing. Yeah. My head wasn't. It was almost like a category that I didn't get into when other friends were into Aussie, were into metal music and stuff. I know Ozzy was early 70s going up all the way through, but I was more into the Beatles and a little bit of the softer pop stuff.
Beatles.
Yeah.
Do you think the Beatles hate each other's guts?
I don't think so. I think I've heard them all interviewed. Of course, you got Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, the ones still alive. Yeah. But they speak respectfully of each other. I think back in the day, they were probably just like kind of a little bit, they just became impatient with each other maybe, or they felt like they wanted to see what it would be like to just be on their own, or to like, so they were big fish in a small pond now. And instead of being the small fish in a big pond, it was the opposite. They were really big fish, and they were like crowding each other out. They each had solo careers that are pretty amazing.
Are you at all? You mentioned the Beatles. What about U2? Do you like U2?
Again, early 80s. My head was in another world when U2 came out.
Yeah.
I can appreciate some of the stuff that they've done.
Yeah.
I think he's a great
guy.
He really is a thoughtful guy. He recently was talking about even like having family time, and they would all, back when the kids were young, they would sit there and he'd pull up like the Bible and read some of the Gospels to the kids. And had you heard some of that interview? It was really interesting
Yeah.
about his respect for God or different stuff like that. It was pretty interesting.
What do you think of the singer? Do you know who this? I'm gonna throw a name at you. Do you know who Kristen Chenoweth is?
Yeah.
What do you think of her?
She's pretty amazing. I think
Yeah.
she's in her 40s now. She was like one of the first,
Like,
with Wicked, right?
yes,
She
popular.
sang, oh my gosh,
For Good.
Yeah, For Good. It's
Yeah,
like a
love
lot
that
of
song.
It's a
Yes.
really great song. She's really amazing.
Yeah.
She's still really got a great voice. Yeah.
And I've heard she's actually a very sweet person. You believe it too?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
You do? Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the people in that realm are really, really. I think they have. It's more of a team, maybe a team concept of their musical life. They
Yes.
have to do things with people a lot. I'm sure there's prima donnas out there too.
In that world.
Yeah.
What do you think of? Did you ever watch Glee or the show Glee? Did you ever? listen
I've
to
seen
music?
Glee. Amazingly musical. It seems kind of the show itself is a little. It's like people that are really troubled in certain ways. Like they're always upset about something.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but I feel like the current culture where people are very, they're easily offended by other people saying negative things or whatever, rather than go, there might be something behind that negative thing. What's going on? Let me talk to you, instead of just saying, okay, you're just a bad person. Like it doesn't matter what side of the spectrum. Everybody has a tendency to isolate other people away from them and to not break through, which is what I think you have a gift of doing. You're just like, whoa, let's like talk about it. You know what I mean?
Talk about it, yeah.
And so I feel like that my son would watch. He would pull up Glee all the time, and he would say, "Dad, you got to listen to the song." And they're insane. They're so good. Like they'll do a redo of what? Motown things.
Motown. Oh, they do?
You know what I mean? Like Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Yep.
And like the people singing it. What was the girl's name? Leah Michelle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
What a
yeah.
Have you ever heard the Glee? Glee did a Christmas album at one point. Have you heard that they do the Christmas songs?
No.
If you haven't, check them out. They do a good version. They do
oh gosh, yeah.
They do that really.
I have heard that, and that's astounding.
It really is.
And it's like the Pentatonics, which, do you like Pentatonics?
They're okay. Yeah.
Dude, because it's choiry.
Yeah.
That I'm into that.
You're into that? That's cool. Pentatonic. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Actually, I like them to do Hallelujah.
Oh yeah.
That's a really good version of that song.
Yeah.
And but no, I was going to ask you that. You said, and now you said you teach music a lot, right? You mentioned that to me.
I do, yeah. In fact, I just had a group yesterday. My group meets on Wednesday afternoons. It's not a big group, but they're the ones that sang at the State House when I met you, and they are just a group of kids that are like from 7th grade to 12th grade, and they are they love each other. They're a great team, and they're learning a lot of. I think there's a lot of new singers in there, and when I try to get them to all like follow each other and to be to really produce their voice strongly, like they get together, and I'm like blown away. Incredible.
What I'm gonna ask you is are you strict with them, or do you keep it kind of like loose?
They're an after school group, so it's more loose. I'm not like I'm their teacher, but I'm more like a coach than a teacher. Like they don't get graded for it, so they're there because they want to be there, and that's kind of nice. Like if they're having a really chatty day where they're like kind of like they're a little distracted. I'm like I don't get mad at them. Like, okay, guys, I try to just keep them singing, and then just you know what I mean. They're really funny. You know what? I remember being 16 years old, like it was yesterday. That's what happens when you get old.
Wow.
Like if you can see the lines on my face, like you realize, like I look in the mirror, I'm like, wow, I look really different than I used to, and I'm like, it bothers me. It's like it stinks.
Yeah.
But I remember being young, and I have great respect for what people have to go through when they're a teenager, because they don't know what they don't know yet. And I'm the same way. Like aren't you always learning stuff?
Yeah, I'm always figuring
stuff out. It's like, and look at you, you're 24. Like there's kids that are like, wow, like you could look down on them and say, well, you're just a dumb kid. But no, like they have a perspective on something, and they still have their basic smarts and basic personality about life. And they just haven't had the amount of experiences and some wisdom that comes with that.
Yeah.
Like you do. So,
anyway, it's one of those things. And then, what I wanted to ask you as well, I know we talked about, doing the music and choral, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Have you ever put out your own solo CD of yourself singing it?
No, people have told me to do it. It's too late for that.
Why? Why is it too late for that?
Because honestly, I actually pulled out my graduate recital when I was 25, I think 24, 25. one of my sons wanted to hear it, and I thought, oh, I'm so scared. Like, I don't want to listen to myself sing.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, that was pretty good.
Wow.
Like, I don't like how I sound compared to that now. Like, when I listen to myself sing now, my voice just feels older.
Have you ever? I'm gonna ask this question. You probably never read it though. Have you ever read music in Braille? Because there's ways to do that.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you know what? I haven't even. We've been talking about music.
Yeah.
I don't even know really as much about you. By
All
the
right,
way, it says 40. We just hit 45 minutes.
Yeah.
What do we have? Just another couple minutes?
Yeah, we'll be all right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
See what you said.
All right.
Well,
So.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. What's up?
So
You had a
yeah, like
question.
like what was that like reading? Like, have you always been at the same level of sight, or has it declined, or has it gotten better?
No. I've always been at the same level.
Yeah.
I lost it when I was born with it.
Yeah.
Sight, so yeah. And
So it's all you've known. So you're good with it.
Yeah, I'm good with
right?
it. I love it.
And
yeah.
so you know see, that's people. Honestly, people seeing your story and knowing you.
Yeah.
They're like really like for me. I mean, I feel really blessed to know you because your attitude it supersedes what other people could look in and go, wow, that's a disability. That's like, but you don't see it that way.
No.
And I feel like everybody, if we can kind of think through what we perceive to be is something somebody has better than us. The problem is we compare ourselves to each other too much.
Yeah.
Instead of accepting what we have.
Yeah.
And being okay with that and do with that. So
Yeah.
you're talking about Braille, and that made
Yeah.
me think of that. So what is the Braille? So how did you learn how to do that? Like,
I'll tell you,
like?
I went to school at Perkins School for the Blind in Watertown for a long time.
Yeah.
Ever since 2005. You ever been there? You ever been near it, by it?
No.
Well, I was there for a long time, and they taught me Braille when I was little. And actually, believe it or not, here I read Braille to some of the people here.
Wow.
Out loud. And it's not. It's going to sound really, really, really kind of a weird thing. It's not that hard to read. I mean,
yeah,
this probably sounds like a really jerky thing to say, but it's not that hard if you're really, if you know what you're doing.
Yeah. So you have to feel things, and you have to be aware of a different
word.
Feel. Yeah.
Yep. All the words.
Yep.
And I'm very I can read pretty quick. Like,
can you?
Yeah. Like I could go like people go, wow, how do you read a sentence that quick? Like I can go like, John and I are on the podcast. I read that in Braille like in a second.
Like a split second.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also, believe it or not, I don't think I've mentioned this to you before.
Yeah.
I met Jim Lyons through an event we had with my local Lions Club in my town.
Oh yeah.
They got me a Braille computer actually.
Wow.
So
how does that work? What is that?
So I got that's how I can do I can look at my words. That's how I do all my Facebook and email stuff. That's how I can do all my Facebook stuff.
Do you touch the keys? Did each key have its own letter
no,
pattern?
No. I just know what I'm hitting.
On the screen?
No, there's no screen. They're keys. I know what to hit. I know what keys to hit. Yeah. That's how I can do all my Facebook and email and social media. All that
Dude,
stuff.
You are so fast. Like you were sending me like all these messages. Like, John, can't wait to get with you. Blah blah blah. But it's like we come in so fast, and I'm like, so you must be pretty quick at typing.
Oh yeah. No, I'm very easy. It's like this morning. I do on Friday. I do a thing where I make announcements on the loudspeaker on Fridays every day here.
Oh wow!
Fridays, and I read the script in Braille too.
Man,
so
that's great.
It's really
what a blessing. That's great.
Man. It's not really that. Again, it's not that hard to do if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And like that's how like I'll even explain to you too. Like the computer that I got from the Lions Club, it was a lot of money. I couldn't afford to buy it because it was a lot of money to get.
Yeah.
But we were able to work something out. I got it. It's very small. And I actually, and what's cool is that when you read the Braille, it comes up like the Braille dots grow. Like when you're typing each letter, the Braille dots grow.
Oh, yeah.
And they pop up every single minute.
Right.
So that was,
that's a really smart invention.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I've got two of them. One's called the Braille Sense. My computer is called the Braille Sense Polaris is what it's called.
Yeah. When did Braille start?
A guy named Louis Braille, who was from France.
Yeah.
He had something with his he had like an accident and he felt, I forget how the story went, but he felt it and his last name was Braille. Oh. He was French. So he invented it.
Is this like in the 1900s or the 1800s? Oh, okay.
1800s, I think it was.
Yeah.
And so he invented the Braille phenomenon.
Wow. That's incredible.
And he invented that term. He invented Braille.
Mm-hmm.
And so they call him Louis Braille now. That was his real name, was Louis Braille.
Yeah.
And
wow.
He was French. He had an accident. He had eye problems. He went blind too.
Yeah.
So he invented it on his own. And, made it on his own. And he became, I guess he was kind of a genius, I guess, in some ways. I would say.
Oh yeah, kidding
Um,
me?
and but no, but it's it, like like I could read like a page of like an autobiography, like of a chapter. I could do that like pretty quick too.
Wow.
You asked me that before in Braille,
Yes.
and I tell people all the time, advice wise. I tell people I always say, listen, you can't accept no for an answer unless you keep asking.
That's it.
If you ask it once and they tell you no, ask it again.
That's really good.
Ask it
I'm learning
again.
that with my business because I have to go build the business. If I'm going to stop doing all the work and train people to do the work, that means I have to have more work coming in to replace myself. And I'm going around and it's competitive out there and you have to keep presenting and not be afraid to do it again, even if they tell you they picked somebody else instead of me.
Wow.
So that's kind of like, I got to keep, so you're an encouragement to me, bro.
So
Incredible.
thank you. I appreciate. I have a question for you. So, are you a strict boss in your business, or you're not really when you do your business?
I'm not strict.
No.
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 I'm not strict at all. In some ways, I was strict with my kids, my own boys,
You
growing
were?
up. But
because you had to be, or
because again, we're trying. If you want to get into that whole relationship thing, just really quick, the
Yeah.
fear of what would happen. Because when I lost my dad when I was 13, I didn't know what that whole parent dad son relationship was supposed to look like through the teens as you become a man, and all the responsibilities you have to you take on as you get older.
Yeah.
So I think when they started especially my oldest one, David, he's 28 now. He's the one that played the piano for you.
Yes.
And he was just really good. He's like, he does commercial real estate right now. He makes good money and he's like really smart and he does great. He says, I get paid now to do what I used to get in trouble for, which is to not hearing the word no. Which,
Yeah.
So when we say David, no, he would say, well, the punishment might be better than like it might be worth the punishment for me to do what you're telling me not to. Anyway, when I learned to back off on them is when I started to become more like easygoing and learn not to be afraid of them disobeying, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
And then, and now, like, I realized that I don't feel like I'm just not a crack the whip guy. I know for me, I don't like being bossed around, so
Right.
I don't like to boss people around. Like I feel like I want them to work for me.
Yeah.
I want them to, and so the guys that work for me now are. I feel like they give 110% because they know, like they'll do things wrong, like they'll back the truck into a wall, a brick wall, and hurt the truck, and they come to me a little sad and go, "Oh man, I bumped into that." I'm like, you know what? I've done it. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's not a big deal.
And you said to me about your sons. I have a question for you. Do your sons look up to you, kind of?
I think they do. They would say like when it's my birthday or Father's Day or whatever on Facebook, they'll put some really nice messages, or they'll give me a card that expresses, "Wow, like you're like I really am glad that you're my dad." That's really nice, and I can tell that they do. Like they'll tease me, because I do. Everybody has their own quirky things that people can make fun of them about.
Yeah,
it's just a fun family thing.
Yeah.
So there's times when I go, "Oh man, I wish I wasn't so dumb," and they wouldn't make fun of me about that because I can't really change it. I'm just not going to change whatever it is. And but it's teasing. It's fun. It's fun to tease each other sometimes.
It's really good to tease each other.
But then I feel like there's a lot of respect. I feel like I feel blessed by that. Yeah.
I wanted to say you real quick. You mentioned about blindness, whatever. Before I became a podcaster doing this podcast, I had a radio show at my school for a long time, believe it or not. I had two shows at my school.
Yeah.
One was called Sports Attack with BMac. It was the first show.
Really?
I talked sports and play music. The other one was called Talking Smack with BMac. And this now, so this is the upper level. Just figured I'd give you a little information on that. Just so you were kind of aware of what I'm about. Yeah. But I will ask you, do you listen to podcasts that much, or do you not really have the time to?
I do. I listen to.
Who do you listen to? Who do
you
like?
You know what? I've gone through. I'm getting back into listening to. I had been listening to a lot of different podcasts. A lot of them are on a religious, philosophical theme. There's guys out there like. Do
you like Sarah Young?
RC. You know what? No. I've listened to. I haven't heard who that is. I've listened to. There's political ones and philosophical ones as well. I tend to be a little bit more on the conservative side, but some of what I listen to is like Cassie J. She's like was a feminist who became like a a male advocate, and it's not just that she is either way. She's just seeing both sides of the coin. Now, she's amazing because she talks about how she was kind of a hateful person, and she started to realize, wow, everybody can be hateful. Like, that's not good. So I've listened to her, but Jordan Peterson's another guy that's like really, he's a teacher in Canada, and he's like all over the world now speaking. Then there's guys like, you probably didn't hear about these guys, but Ravi Zacharias and R.C. Sproul and some of these other guys that are they talk about different world religions and why and how to be consistent with your religious thought, and then and guys that talk about the Bible and about Jesus and about how Jesus was an amazing person and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's those kind of things, and then other podcasts where like there's satirical podcasts that are
the documentaries kind of?
Yeah, they're a little bit like that. I do like man, I'm drawing a blank now, but guys, they go into the history of things, like world history, American history, stuff like that. And there's one more podcast I was going to say that there's business podcasts that are based on like books that I've read. Mike Michalowicz is a guy. Dave Ramsey podcast.
Oh, he has a podcast too.
He's a financial guy. So some of those like business type things that have helped me. Those are I'm listening to a lot of those kind of things now.
Yeah,
go ahead.
That's cool. No, I appreciate that podcast.
How about you?
I listen to Let me tell you. I'll give you an example. If you don't mind.
Yeah.
I listen to a podcast called.
I'm gonna write these down.
Sure. One is called The Classic Metal Show. Now, that is an internet radio show that goes live every weekend, every Saturday.
Yeah.
They go on for 6 hours.
Wow.
And I've actually called into their show a couple times.
Classic Metal Show.
It is. It's a real show. It's on the internet. And I listened to a podcast called, I don't know if you've heard of this guy. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. He's called The Kirk Minahan Show.
No. He
used to work for WEI, a sports station up in Boston for a while. The Jerry Callahan podcast. Do you know who that is?
Jerry Callahan. Sounds familiar.
He used to work for He's actually a Republican.
Yeah. Okay.
And the big podcast with Shaq.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he has a podcast.
Yeah.
So I like interview podcasts because I don't want to hear like guys ranting about other things. Well, I rant a lot. What am I to say? But I like...
There you go.
But no, I enjoy interview podcasts. I want to hear them interview somebody, ask questions. I don't want to hear a constant ranter.
Yeah.
That's just like going to go on about boring stuff you don't want to hear about.
That's right.
Boring stuff.
Yeah.
And Dee Snider has a podcast.
Dee Snider?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called I Want to Talk.
That's neat.
And so I like things like that. I think, this opinion I have now, I think more podcasts should take live callers.
Yes. It makes it interesting. It makes it interesting.
Yeah, I would agree.
Or like we've been talking for a long time, so I don't know if you're going to have to edit some of this down and cut out. You're not. You can just let it roll.
Yeah.
Now that's great and everything. But like, I like when there's almost the extremes. Like I like a longer one, like where you can see people kind of talk about many different. Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Rogan. Yeah, you like Rogan?
He's funny. It doesn't mean I agree with everything he says, but how can you do that? How can you possibly agree with everything that somebody says? So you can honestly, I feel like I learn from everybody. I don't care what side of the coin
country.
It is.
Yeah.
Country, whatever. But Joe Rogan's like that. But like if you can chop it up into small clips, then sometimes it makes people not feel overwhelmed, and then they'll listen to it if it's like 10 minutes long.
No, I totally get you.
Whatever. So.
I totally get. But hey, thanks for coming on. You guys have been great. But thank you, Don, for coming on this podcast again.
Thank you, Brian.
An absolute thrill. And
been fun for me.
I'll have you back on again soon.
I would love it.
That'd be awesome. Thank you guys. See you guys next week.